And being a storyteller, you tell the story that where I read the script. And whether it's coming to that, I suppose you can always find somewhere in the world where things are very nice, things are very bad, but that's not the point of this particular movie in my mind. The point is that we have a humanness which we try to understand, try to celebrate, and it's a challenge. I think the story of Blade Runner presents that challenge to everyone. What constitutes humanity, and how should we treat the intelligence that humanity represents?
This question's for Ridley Scott. Blade Runner and Legend are my favorite films from you, and I was wondering, with all the advances in technology today, is there any film that you haven't gotten to do in the past that you might do now with all the technology?
Yeah, I'd like to do another science fiction, but that's a matter of waiting for the right material. And I'm constantly trying to develop, so if you've got any scripts out there, you know where to send it. And I would really like to do a Western, which of course wouldn't involve any real technology other than, it'd be an epic Western. It would be a seasonal Western that would cover years. But I don't think it involve any technology other than cameras.
I sort of look at films as not things that I need to impress myself onto it, but as an experience that will ultimately teach me something. I kind of work in reverse.
Yeah, hi. This question is for Ridley. I was just wondering if we're ever going to get a very definitive official release of the soundtrack for Blade Runner.
Oh, you mean the music track?
They're working on it.
Yeah, we're trying to do that. There was a separation years ago as to the soundtrack, which would normally coincide with the release of the movie. That didn't happen for various reasons. We're actually now trying to do that. Yes, it's a wonderful, one of the best of the musical soundtracks on any film, any time. I think it's fantastic.
Mr. Ridley Scott, will you please share with us your directing vision for a potential Blade Runner sequel?
If I knew what that was made, I'd have made it. But I think there could be a sequel to it, and if you end on the note that I'm not saying I'm going to do it, I'm saying there could be a sequel. There is clearly a story in the sequel, and it probably keys off with Eddie Olmos' line, I think, where he says, "Pity she won't live." But then who does?
Whew, thank God. That means I'm going to be in it.
And of course I think that they're both replicants, so that's a pretty good starting block for a sequel. I'm not going to tell anything else, otherwise you might steal it.
Yeah, this question's for Mr. Ridley Scott. I was wondering, with the architecture in the film, with the whole 1920s Prohibition look and the Egyptian style architecture, pyramids and all that, and religious. Okay, so I won't bring that up, but yeah. I was just wondering what inspired all this, like, because I mean, it just came out of thin air and it's so perfect.
I'd done a lot of traveling at that moment in time. I'd done many commercials which would take me around the world, which was really my film school. And notwithstanding, the place I really enjoyed and was most impressed by had been Hong Kong, where I shot there 3 times. And I was spending a lot of time shooting in New York. New York at this particular juncture was not the shiny, glossy place it is today. We always seem to be in a state of disarray and reconstruction. So I always felt, when I was working with Hampton on the story, which we were expanding from the original screenplay, which was Dangerous Days, that it must be in that environment. And the first shot I tried to do is have it made in Hong Kong. And that's how we kind of fully connected with the runner on shore. And there was no having it. We couldn't afford actually to float this kind of movie there. So it really boiled down to the fact that I had to do the back lot. And the back lots are tricky, you know, you're limited on budget, you're limited on scale, you're limited on time, but that's where it had to be. So that's, the kind of idea was in the air. That's why the idea of saying, do I choose to make the environment, the population that is seen in this world of Blade Runner, should I go Hispanic or should I go Asian? And at the time, I think it was mainly because of Hong Kong, we went Asian. That's it. That's how it came. Genesis.
Mr. Scott, this is the best thing I own in my collection by far. As far as an artist, it's inspired me to do a lot of artwork. And Mr. Mead, thank you very much. My question to you, Mr. Scott, is I've read that you've done design work in the future, or excuse me, in the past, before you were directing movies. How much of like conceptual artwork did you work on with Sidney before approaching Ridley, or Philip K. Dick? I'm sorry.
Well, I was an art school brat. I did 4 years of provincial art school and then 3 years at the Royal College of Art.
One of the funniest people on that set, I recall, was Charles Node, the costume designer. He's retired now. He had a great sense of humor, and he kept me in stitches in the entire show. And I remember, you know, Ridley is very good friends with him, and he contributed so much to the look of the film and what everybody wore. Those costumes are probably the last costumes that are hand-built for actors, just like they used to do in the old days of movie making. So I felt very honored, but he had a great, great sense of humor, Charlie did, Charles.
At the end of every day, there was a sort of a lottery to see who would get my 3 patches. You'll have to see the film again.
I remember that at the end with Rutger Hauer, I had never kissed a man with passion. I have my children, my grandson. But at that moment, as I went for the kiss, I opened my mouth. And I heard it for the rest of the week. I mean, I don't know why I did it. I did it because I just did it. Kissing is a very personal thing. And I put my tongue in this Rutger Hauer's mouth. True story. He looked startled. I myself was stunned. Ridley broke up. It was quite something, and I took it for a week.
Did he ask you out that night?
I'm sorry?
I said, did he ask you out that night?
He didn't have enough money.
Well, I think on that note, we're bringing this one to a close. I can't thank you all enough for being here today. Blade Runner will be getting a limited theatrical run in New York and LA on October 5th, and look for the DVD coming out on December.
There are so many of you out here, and I don't get a chance to look at faces, and I adore looking at faces and seeing people who like to come out. The cast would like to tell you you're all invited. The cast invites all of you tomorrow between the hours of 3 o'clock and 7 o'clock. We'll all be gathered. Come on out, talk to us. We'll carry on and have a good time.
Where?
Where is that, Jen?
It's up under the sales in the autograph section, I think.
In the autograph section, right. Thank you all for coming out. You're a delight.